Hello, my name is Mike Griffin with Griffin Brothers Companies and Greenway Waste Solutions. I appreciate the opportunity to describe a situation that details how a York County councilman influenced policy changes that have delayed our facility from opening for more than 7 years. Greenway Waste Solutions helps communities manage construction and demolition waste through recycling, reprocessing, and landfilling. The acronym of C&D is commonly used in lieu of construction and demolition. Note that you can pause the video at any time to look over the following slides. It is important to remember that we made initial contact with York County in 2003 and received encouragement to help with the county's C&D disposal needs. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars developing plans and seeking approvals to permit our C&D facility between 2003 and 2007. During 2006, York County Councilman Curwood Chappell made it clear that he opposed our facility. The following slides highlight some of his extreme misstatements to influence his fellow councilmen and county staff to turn against our facility. This is again one of the many examples, but during the time he was stating that we were minimizing or not using the word landfill, and he even claimed that the city manager was telling staff and leaders to don't dare mention the word landfill, and claimed that he had an email to approve it. And if you pause and read, you can see that this was completely false, and we went through a lot of effort to show that this was false.
And I got the email that they knew what they were doing. And for our city manager to send out email to all the council members of the city and other dignitaries and officials and say, don't dare mention landfill.
Another fear tactic that Councilman Chappell used was to claim that our facility would primarily be used for out-of-state waste, and even going to the exaggeration of claiming that we would receive waste from Miami to Maine. Obviously, anybody that's in our industry knows that that's 100% false. Construction and demolition debris typically comes from the immediate area. It's just not financially feasible to haul any long distance, and as you can see from this write-up, that we're trying to explain that. Mr. Chappell just really never bothered to understand the difference between municipal solid waste landfills or sanitary landfills versus C&D, and this is yet another example.
I wouldn't mind having to look at York County garbage, but I'm not looking at York County garbage. This is out-of-state garbage. This is not, very little of this is for York County. It's for profiteering outside of the county.
Just as a reminder, and it was stated in writing earlier, we're taking excerpts from full audio-video content, and when you hear the full audio-video content, you'll fully understand that he's only talking about Vernsdale Landfill and our facility. But just for your sake of your time, I'm trying to minimize the excerpts from the full-length video and audio. Another thing that, as far as a fear tactic, was just to state that this is going to be a very large and tall landfill that can be seen from long distances. And he even went so far to say it was going to be the highest landfill between Miami and Maine. And this could not be further from the truth. Matter of fact, as the design of the other two existing C&D landfills in the market were not as tall as them. And as you can see, we went through an extensive discussion with the city leaders and made a commitment to restrict it to 96 feet in height. And there's plenty of areas, natural height areas in York County that will be higher than that when we're complete.
The ones on Vernsdale Road is going to be 140 foot high, sitting on a clay slab of 2 feet, and it's going to be the highest building in York County. It's going to be the highest building in our county, within the city limits of Rock Hill. And all this beautification we have all helped and promoted and endorsed. Now we're going to set a landfill, as you can see from any wonderful scenery you develop. You're going to be able to turn south and look at the highest landfill between Miami and Maine.
And as you can see, these excerpts are coming from when he was on radio talking about our facility, and obviously within county council chambers. And during session, he would get into long stories and misstatements about our facility. And again, this is yet another one.
And now one of our beloved neighboring municipalities want to sit the largest landfill between Miami and Maine, right down there on the same spot.
The area that we have cited for our facility is in a pretty large industrial park, and there's some closed facilities that are adjacent to us. One's called Thermocam, and another one is the old Clariant chemical plant. And Mr. Chappell is alluding to us being beside those facilities and expressing concern about how that can affect that. Obviously, if you really look at our plans, we're using less than 50 acres for landfilling and 140 acres for buffering and other activities. And there's many of much more extensive, heavier manufacturing facilities that you could put on there that would have a much larger impact with traffic and so forth. And that's just something, obviously, that has been left out of the topic.
We got 25 multi-million cleanup, 25 multi-million in dollar down to do it with. And now on top of that, I've had some help from the council, but they're trying to dump millions and millions of tons from North Carolina and Virginia on top of my people out there in the same location.
Yeah, this is more stuff that's just unsubstantiated, where he was insinuating that by our activities on adjacent property, and actually not even adjacent to Thermocam, but on a property that's in the same proximity, that it would cause disruptive measures to the ground, I guess, that would take whatever contaminants are on these other properties to create damage in the neighborhood and the region.
And now the engineers are telling me the hydraulics are dumping something else almost on top of it, 140 foot high. I think we cut it down to 80, 6 times or 9 times, a half a mile long. Is dangerous to break a crust, to let it get somewhere out.
Okay, another example, when on the radio, he's really trying to make the case that South Carolina, or I guess you could insinuate maybe York County, is the dumping grounds for the whole upper states and the southern states. And that he's insinuated that people have outlawed it and said you're not going to expand. All I can tell you here, and again, this is important to remember, the county itself is a market participant. They have a facility in the county that takes construction demolition waste, and you can make the case that we are competing against them, and then some of Councilman Chappell's tactics are to prevent us from being able to come into existence. But the interesting story is that their facility, which is the county facility, as well as the other private facility, are closer to North Carolina. So if anybody's going to get waste, it would be them before us from another out of state. We're kind of more in the heart of South Carolina and way less likely to have any out of state waste coming to us.
We're the dumping ground. We're the dumping ground for the whole upper states and the southern states. They've outlawed it and said you're not going to expand.
Yeah, in this case, he's trying to make it a situation to where I guess we're too close to schools, even though the other 2 C&D facilities in the county are just as close to schools. And during the time that they're trying to stop our facility, they approved expansions at their own facility as well as the other privately run facility. So I don't know why all of a sudden they think that the proximity to schools is a problem. And one other note, I think that due to our the city restricting the total volume that we can take to less than 60,000, we're really talking about 50 trucks a day, which is a pretty minimal traffic generated on a 140-acre site that could be a heavy manufacturing site. That obviously, if it was done in that format, could be thousands upon thousands of trucks a day. So, again, more unnecessary exaggeration and forgetting about the schools close to the other facilities in the county.
We've got a school less than a half a mile from Thermochem, and less than 3/4 of a mile from this thing I'm telling you about. There's been some poor engineering here when Rock Hill would allow all that, and it was county, and we denied it. This council denied all those houses in there. Got 800 some houses, or maybe too high on the number. Then they put 2 schools there. And then they lined a contaminated place to accomplish 2 more contaminations within 3/4 of a mile from the south end to the school, a half a mile from the school on the top side, or less than a half a mile. And so it's poor engineering somewhere.
So, and you can see from the dates on these slides, most of Councilman Chappell's misstatements happened in 2007 and 2008. And this was a very important time. This was the time where he was encouraging the council to vote in a way to continue to appeal our permit that we received in February of 2007. So he really was making extreme misstatements in order to try to solidify a majority of the council to continue to fight against the permit that was desired by the city of Rock Hill, which is inside York County, desired by our company, and also approved by the state through DHEC. So he made a lot of statements. Now, what you're going to see here is Councilman Rick Lee. Rick Lee, along with Chairman of the council, Buddy Moats, had a much different opinion, and they often voted against Curwood's wishes. And this is some excerpts from Councilman Rick Lee related to our site.
So I know exactly what we did last Wednesday. We passed a defective solid waste plan. We did it so we could prohibit Vernsdale. The purpose of that emergency ordinance was specifically for that. We fabricated that idea. And now we're getting ready to take all these defective things and put them into the zoning standards without even taking the time to think about them. So I support the deferral so that we can have a little time to see what we're doing before we damage the public interest any further.
Yeah, I've done another executive summary of this, 10-decade-long process, and Councilman Rick Lee in that talked more specifics about some of the antics that they did to change policy to basically exempt all new landfills. So this is much abbreviated, but here's a little bit more from some of his council meetings when he was discussing either our facility or discussing the policies they were trying to change in order to exempt or make our facility not able to be permitted.
Mr. Moats has said we are in a genuine mess. We've been in session now for 2.5 months in this term of county council. We've performed actions which people have said were in conflict with executive session. We are in and have been in multiple lawsuits with more additional lawsuits likely to come. We declared an emergency that a reasonable man would not conclude existed. We have passed a law which is so fundamentally defective that it requires attention to fix it. I think we need to stop the contesting of the protest, the contesting of the award of the certificate to, Vernsdale. I think we need to stop that. This council, during that session when we approved the attorney, selected an attorney that none of us knew. We knew no rates for the attorney. We violated our own normal process of getting staff to help with this type of selection. We didn't ask if there were better attorneys that were closer that wouldn't charge so much for travel time. We broke every rule. We're talking about giving a man a blank check to spend tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to protest a permit that was awarded in concert with the plan that we had in place at the time. I don't know where it'll end. I don't know where it'll end. And we don't even know the reasons that we're protesting it. We haven't had a briefing in executive session. We took action without any knowledge whatsoever, and it was a lot like the way we passed the solid waste plan in the chaos that was going on in this council. And we all know what it was like. It was almost, let's make a deal up here. Let's trade. Well, if you'll do this, I'll do a little of that. That's exactly what it was.
As you could see earlier, that was a March 2007 conversation Councilman Lee was having during county council meeting. And just a reminder, we received our permit February 22nd, 2007. February 28, 2007, the county started this unbelievable process of appealing our permit, and obviously that process has continued. There's been some extreme delays that the county put in our way, and just finally the appeal process ended in May of 2014. So the delays were successful in the context that it definitely kept us in a stalemate position for 7 years. This chaos and confusion led by Councilman Chappell has resulted in the county losing 4 appeals of a permit, including an appeal to the state Supreme Court. The county has fought against the wishes of the city of Rock Hill and our company, while never recognizing that the county leadership in 2003 encouraged us to help with the county C&D disposal needs. Thank you for your time.